Uh, Being Solicitor General is a lofty position which brings me a little bit closer, perhaps, to the Supreme Court than other practitioners. The fact that the Solicitor General represents the government and its agencies before the Supreme Court, and the fact that the Solicitor General, by the words of the Supreme Court, is tribune of the people, and that the Solgen argues the cases of the government before the Supreme Court, brings the Solicitor General into a unique position, as one commentator has said, to be in a distinctive position to, on behalf of the government, engage the highest court of the land in a dialogue. They call it a Socratic dialogue in order to arrive at good decisions. So in that case, I am very blessed and very lucky to be in this position. And whilst, again, the question of insider versus outsider is something for this honorable council and for the appointing power, I will consider that a Solgen is somebody who is not inside but is not probably completely outside knowledge of the processes of the court.
Thank you, sir. Solgen, it was previously reported that during your interview for the position of Ombudsman, you were asked if you would inhibit from cases involving San Miguel Corporation pending before the Supreme Court. You replied no, and correct me if I'm wrong. You replied no to this query and added that I am not sure if I need to inhibit at all because logically I will then have to inhibit in all cases that have to do with other law firms I worked with. Will you maintain the same position if appointed as Chief Justice? And yes, that's my question first.
No, sir. I will not maintain that same position anymore.
Do you then believe that as Chief Justice, there would certainly be conflict of interest in the matter of pendency of certain very contentious and controversial cases at the Supreme Court level, private party involving your former employer, the San Miguel Corporation?
If I am blessed to be Chief Justice, sir, I will inhibit from all cases involving San Miguel Corporation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
How do you understand the political question doctrine, Solgen? Do you think that this doctrine is still relevant under our times today, notwithstanding the power of judicial review expressly granted to the courts under Article 8, Section 1 of the Constitution?
Yes, sir. Whilst we have what we now call the expanded power of judicial review, or the duty of the court to determine in all cases whether there is grave abuse of discretion on the part of any branch or functionality of government, I believe personally that there is still room for true or real political questions. In a narrow set of cases, there will always be room for circumstances or facts where the court should not exercise its power of judicial review.
My last question, Mr. Chairman, is, Solgen, you characterize the judiciary as a passive institution that does not craft policies. Does the judiciary have a role in national development then, do you think?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. And does the judiciary precisely have a role as well in the upliftment of the quality of life for every Filipino?
Yes, sir. I think the judiciary, whilst it is a passive institution, when it is confronted with an actual case or controversy, has to make a decision. And therein lies the role, the big role of the judiciary in national development. For example, to the extent that we need foreign investments, one of the criticisms has been that our laws are interpreted not consistently, and to the extent that the court could speak with one voice, to the extent that the court could follow precedent, these are matters that will help invite, for example, foreign investments. And so the court, it is a natural body that believes in precedents. And national development, business, they are for maintaining credibility through predictability. And so there is a big, big role for the judiciary, sir.
It's my turn, Mr. Solicitor General. I have asked you some questions when you appeared before the court in defending the government. But the questions will not be different from the questions that we propound when you appear before us. No?
Yes, sir.
Now, you appear to be humble the way you answer the questions and the way you gesture in answering the questions. Am I right? You confirm that? You really appear to be humble.
I am humble, sir.
My question is, are you really humble?
Yes, sir.
Oh. My next question is, do you really know the work of a Chief Justice? Do you really know the work of a Chief Justice?
I do not know in the sense, Your Honor, that I have never been even a judge. But I think from what I have learned, from what I have read, from what I have observed, it is a very important job. But to answer your question, not of my personal knowledge, because I have not been even a judge.
Yeah. You know that during en banc sessions of the Supreme Court, where the Chief Justice is the presiding officer, you will have to tackle something like 300 cases. 300 cases on a single day for deliberation before the en banc. And you're the presiding officer, you're not aware of that?
No, Justice.
You're not also aware of a decision submitted by a ponente. There are several opinions that are submitted, and then you are also aware. You should also be aware of the different opinions of the justices, because you will be the presiding officer. You do not know that?
Well, I am aware in the sense that, in fact, Justice, there are so many instances where there are different opinions.
Yeah, there are opinions, and the Chief Justice must be aware. He should know what are these opinions. Is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then the Chief Justice likewise heads a lot of committees, and he should be on top of all these committees. He will be the presiding officer of the Judicial Bar Council. He will be the presiding officer of the Philippine Judicial Academy in its monthly meetings. He will be the presiding officer of the Mother Committee, which we call the Committee on the Revision of the Rules of Court. There are so many committees that the Chief Justice heads.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in fact, you are the chief administrator not only of the Supreme Court, but the whole judiciary.
Yes, Justice.
So do you think that you need sufficient experience in order to become an effective Chief Justice?
Well, my answer to that would be, Your Honor, that yes, experience is important, but with all due respect, not indispensable, because, workloads, committees, can be met, and there are delegations.
No,
you can delegate work, but the primary challenge.
But you will have to be on top of all these committees, even if you delegate. Example of which is the preparation for the budget of the Supreme Court and Judiciary. You can delegate some of the justices, but you have to be on top of the of the preparation of the budget. That's only one of the functions of a Chief Justice. A Chief Justice does not sit there in his office and then call for the justices or the subordinate officials and do this and do this. Unlike in the executive, if you head a department, come out with an order or a memorandum, require all these people to do this and to do this, that's all. Everybody follows. Not in the Supreme Court. Are you aware of that?
Well, yes, Your Honor.
And the decision of the Supreme Court is always arrived at through deliberation, sometimes heated arguments. Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're aware of that. So I believe that experience really plays an important role in order to become an effective Chief Justice. Do you agree?
Well, as I said, Your Honor, experience...
I'm not saying that you should withdraw from the nomination. What I'm saying is that this is what really happens. This is what really happens in the Supreme Court.
Again, my statement, Justice, will be certainly experience is important, but with all due respect, I think it is not indispensable.
Okay.
Because I have also had some measure of experience, for example, budgeting in the private sector. And when I went to the Ombudsman, I also to prepare the budget of Luzon. I mean, it was not for everything. It was new, but I had to learn. And now we are in the budget process in the OSG. It is altogether new again. But I have to learn, and I with all humility, I believe I have coped. The magnitudes may be different. And certainly I do not say that experience is not important.
Okay. Now, you were asked about the coconut levy funds, no? And according to you, there is still a pending motion for reconsideration filed by COCOFED.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are representing the PCGG, I suppose.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you participating in that motion in the preparation of, or will you be signing the comment or the reply or the pleading that will be submitted by the Solicitor General?
I have signed, Your Honor.
So you will be participating.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it not that the shares allegedly owned by Ambassador Cojuangco, which I think is equivalent to something like 20%, 20% of the total shares of the San Miguel Corporation, you were then a corporate secretary of San Miguel Corporation. You were a corporate secretary of San Miguel Corporation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it not that there were questions about the composition of the boards of directors in the board meetings of the San Miguel Corporation, and that at that time you were a corporate secretary of San Miguel, and therefore participated or interpreted probably, or gave an opinion that Mr. Cojuangco can still vote, and vote the 20 equivalent to the 20% shares of Mr. Cojuangco?
I remember I did. I was the corporate secretary at that time.
So in other words, you knew about the shares of Mr. Cojuangco.
Yes, sir. That he has these shares that he contests.
So anyway, there are actually two cases here involving the coconut levy funds. The 20% being claimed by Ambassador Cojuangco, which the court has already decided as his. Is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
The other case is the 27% being claimed by the coconut farmers, which the Supreme Court declared as owned by the coconut farmers, but held in trust for the benefit of the coconut industry. That's the ruling. That is not the one that is pending reconsideration.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, I ask this question because you are the Solicitor General. I will also ask the same question which I asked of Justice Secretary De Lima. No? Is there anything about your past or background which, if becomes public, would not only become a source of embarrassment, not only for you, but the entire judiciary?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you definitely, no?
No, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You were talking about allowances. Because what is your position so far as allowances being received by judges from the cities or provinces where they are assigned or stationed? No, you said that. Did you say you have no objection? Because that is one way of augmenting their income.
If the income is given, I think, as a whole, then perhaps there would be no conflict, Your Honor. As I said, I've been basing it with the experience we have at the OSG. Government agencies will give allowances, and they will give allowances to a task force, so-called, and we are now in the process of having a conversation with the ASGs that perhaps to avoid issues of conflict, if an agency wants to give to the OSG, it should be as a whole.
But the situation is in the OSG is different, because in the OSG you receive allowances from your clients, and that is allowed, I think, by the COA. But here, the members of the court or the lower courts, the judges from the lower courts receive allowance from the cities or provinces where they are assigned or stationed. So there may be a conflict of interest.
I will keep an open mind on that, Justice, because if it is given across the board, not to any person, but as a subsidy of the city, for example, to the justice system,
You will not have any objection.
on those facts, probably, I will keep an open mind.
So you will be a generous Chief Justice, probably.
Well,
You will be a generous Chief Justice, probably. No?
if there will be LGUs who will give, Your Honor,
Oh, you will allow it. No?
will allow it.
Now there is a question from the public. I do not know if this is true. You were appointed 2 weeks after the Supreme Court decided in favor of the coconut farmers. Is that true? You were appointed as Solicitor General. Probably the question should have been, you were appointed Solicitor General 2 weeks after the Supreme Court came out with a decision favoring Mr. Cojuangco. I think that's the question. That should be the question.
I do not know the date.
Do not recall.
I took my oath as Solicitor General, Your Honor, February 10, and I think my appointment was signed 1 week before that.
But you were not yet the Solicitor General. It was still Solicitor General Cadiz when the decision of the Supreme Court came out. I think that's correct, no? You cannot remember.
I do not know, Your Honor.
Yeah. Now, you agree that the judiciary is the weakest among the three branches of government?
Yes, sir. That's the received wisdom. It's the weakest.
In fact, the Supreme Court receives only, I think, less than 1%?
Less than 1, I think.
Of the national budget?
Yes, Your Honor.
If the Chief Justice, can you do something in order to increase the budget of the judiciary, the Supreme Court, and the judiciary as a whole?
Well, Your Honor, I think the Supreme Court has been trying to reach even just 1%, and probably if the court will be in the interdependent terms with the other branches of government, we stand a chance of pleading the cause for a bigger budget.
Mm-hmm. And what would be your proposals in order that the Supreme Court will be equal to that of the two other branches of government in terms of probably power or authority? Because according to you, you agree that the judiciary is the weakest among the three branches of government.
Well, I think, Your Honor, the Supreme Court should keep to its role, which is just to decide cases, to make decisions in case of actual cases and controversy, because it is important for the court to keep to its mandate. The court, as I said, does not make policy or does not execute laws, but it's very powerful in the sense, for example, that it protects individual rights. It is very powerful. It makes law being sensitive to women, being sensitive to gender. It is in that sense very powerful because it can be one case, but one case can be so important that even if the court, as they say, is the least dangerous branch or the weakest branch, it can make also a big difference in its own way, Your Honor.
I have no more questions, Mr. Solicitor General. Okay, I think you are through.
Thank you, sirs and madams.
Thank you also for coming.
At natapos na po ang interview kay Solicitor General Francis Hardelesa, ang ikalimang nominee para sa pagkapunong maestrado. Susunod, mamaya si Katrina Legarda, isang women's advocate, no, lawyer din siya. And we still have with us dito sa studio si Attorney Cynthia Rojas. At napansin ko kanina habang i-interview si Sol Gen Hardelesa, he admitted, no, with yung may mga hindi siya maalam sa ilang judicial operations, no. At sabi niya hindi naman kasi wala nga din siyang experience being in the judiciary, never siya naging judge. Kaya hindi pa siya sigurado doon sa ilang mga tanong na tinatanong nila sa kanya. Is that a plus or minus factor? Pinakita niya yung candor niya at humility. Pero pinakita din niya na hindi din talaga niya alam. Ano yun? How do you gauge that?
I admire him for his candor. At the same time, he was very brave to say that he is willing to learn. So I think that's the reason why si Justice Peralta propounded all these questions on being prepared for the judiciary, yung systems and operations of the Supreme Court. And then he was saying that although he is not part of the judiciary, he is very much willing to learn. I think yung kaninang admission niya na he didn't know about that particular case, how to deal with that, I would give him plus points for the candor.
Okay, nandiyan na po ang susunod na interviewin, si Katrina Legarda, isang women's rights advocate at she received 2 Soroptimist International recognitions for women helping women at woman advancing the status of women.
I was competent and I could clean up the courts and I could manage and administer the ills of the courts, then I stand to be counted with everything that I have for the courts and for the litigate and for the lawyers who work with the courts.
Except for your very brief stint at the GSIS,
Yes.
I believe that you have been in the private practice of law all throughout your legal career. What is it in your past that you have accomplished which makes you feel that you are ready to be at the helm of the Supreme Court?
Yes, I have been in the private practice of law for 32 years. However, in that private practice of law, I put up the Child Justice League, which we organized and administered in order to ensure that children in conflict with the law and children who have been abused are properly assisted in courts, and that requires a lot of administration and management because we work with the DSWD and all that the government entails in sense of red tape. Despite however brief I was at the GSIS, I cleaned up the law department, organized it into like a law firm, put the lawyers in the places where they should be, found out their strengths and weaknesses, and therefore was able to give the Board of Trustees sort of go-to lawyers. These are the lawyers whom you should go to, let's say, for foreclosures, for contracts, for legal opinions. So I organized them into maybe 5 groups, 3 under litigation and 2 under advisory and legal opinions.
What is your vision for a Supreme Court under the Legarda administration?
Somebody once said very recently that the face of the judiciary is actually the person of the judge. The concept of judicial independence, that is extremely abstract for the ordinary person, and even for the judges who join the judiciary. So, what is it that people understand? Litigants, lawyers, judges. They understand the concept of fairness and impartiality. So when you go to court as a lawyer, and I was a very active practitioner for 32 years, I always know when the judge has rendered justice. Because even if I may lose, I feel that I was treated impartially by that judge. And that is what I think I can bring to the court, the concept of fairness and impartiality. So equity as it might impact on the rule of law.
As a result of the impeachment trial, the concept of justice to be had in our country has become rather remote, in the sense that most sectors feel that there is corruption in the judiciary. How do you think you will be able to address that perception, and how would you turn it all around so that people will have faith in the judicial system?
Well, I think a lot of the problem of the corruption in the judiciary, and it is an outrage to me because I know that there are honest judges. I know. I mean, 2 of them are sitting here. 3. Justice Peralta. Sorry, Justice. 3 of them are sitting here. I know that they are honest judges. So it is an outrage to me that there is this sweeping condemnation of the judiciary as being corrupt as a whole. And I think a lot of this has to do with the frustration that people feel when they do go to court and then they file cases against judges and judicial personnel. And it takes so long. So not only do they have to keep facing these judges and judicial personnel because it's taken 5, 7, 10 years for a case to be disposed of, either by the Office of the Court Administrator or even by the Supreme Court, depending on what the case is all about. And there is justice delayed and justice denied, and frustration festers. And worse, the ordinary Filipino, he doesn't understand that the lawyer does not want to go to court against the judge because he knows that he's going to be facing that same judge for his other clients. So this it's a wheel, it's a never-ending wheel of frustration which sets in. So I think probably the first thing I will do is to reorganize the Office of the Court Administrator to facilitate and hasten the disposition of complaints against judges and court personnel. Make it fair to the personnel so that cases against them do not languish, thereby preventing their promotion to higher positions, and fair to the litigants